Boris Johnson has called for greater optimism over Brexit. Photo by Dan. KitwoodGetty Images. Richard Vaughan. 19 hours Tuesday, October 3, 2017. Boris Johnson demanded greater optimism over Brexit as he called for the British people to be allowed to roar after the UK leaves the EU. The Foreign Secretary bemoaned the media's portrayal of Brexit, claiming it was reported in tones of slight disapproval as he addressed the Tory faithful in Manchester. "It is time to stop treating the referendum result as though it were a plague of boils, or a murrain on our cattle, or an inexplicable aberration by 17.4 meters people," Mr. Johnson said. "It is time to be bold and to seize the opportunities, and there is no country better placed than Britain." Red lines. His comments came against the backdrop of days of cabinet squabbling following his decision to spell out his Brexit red lines, which was seen by many as yet another bid for the leadership. In an interview on the eve of the party's conference, he warned that any implementation period after Britain leaves the EU should not be a second longer than 2 years, undermining the Prime Minister. Despite the show of disloyalty, Mr. Johnson's speech was the most eagerly anticipated event of the Conservative conference, with the party's rank and file turned away in their droves due to a lack of space in the auditorium. Less European, and to the delight of members, Mr. Johnson banged the drum of Brexit as he insisted that the UK would play our part in making the world safer and freer, and therefore more prosperous. In a bid to appeal to the more Europhile sections of the party, he described it as manifestly absurd that the UK would be less European after leaving the bloc. "We have been privileged collectively to be placed in charge of this amazing country at a critical moment in our history," he said. "We are not the lion. We do not claim to be the lion. That role is played by the people of this country. But it is up to us now, in the traditional non-threatening, genial and self-deprecating way of the British, to let that lion roar," he added. Corbyn attacks. The 53-year-old also used his speech to attack Jeremy Corbyn, who he described as that natabashing, trident-scraping, world abolisher of the British Army. Mr. Johnson said the Labour leader was a superannuated space cadet from Islington and suggested he should be sent into orbit. And he warned that Mr. Corbyn's domestic policies would rack up unfair debts for our children and grandchildren, and his foreign policies would imperil not just this country, but our friends and neighbours as well. Boris Johnson charmed his party members with his speech, but failed to gain their backing to become Tory leader. His address yesterday was the hottest ticket over the course of the party's conference in Manchester, with members forced to queue for half an hour to gain entry to the venue. Helena Croft, a member from London, said Boris encapsulates the honest thoughts that most of the general population wants to hear. He does it in his own unique style, but his point on optimism for me was the most important. But when asked if Mr. Johnson should be leader, Ms. Croft said diplomatically, "I think he is doing a great job as Foreign Secretary. The press should allow Theresa May to get on with her job." Fizern Idris, a 17-year-old from Stourbridge in the West Midlands, said his confidence for Brexit: "I believed in Brexit because of him. He is the future of this party. I fully support Theresa May and I think she is doing a brilliant job, but maybe in the future." Anna Welsh, a member from Hemel Hempstead, described his speech as brilliant and more serious than previous years, but she added, "I don't think he has the right personality to be leader. With his sense of humor and the way he is better suited to be the Mayor of London or Foreign Secretary. I don't think he would be taken seriously enough." But Sharon Lee from Manchester disagreed. "I think he would be fabulous Prime Minister. I have always thought it from when I first saw him speak." In news.co.uk.